Okay, it is 7 p.m. on July 1st, 2024. Time and place for the scheduled city commission meeting. We have full board participants tonight, so we'll call the meeting to order. Let's please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
We'll go a little bit off script to start off with. We have a pretty full house tonight, so I just want to cover a couple of housekeeping items that critical to everybody. Firstly, there's a sign-in sheet right inside the door. Please make sure that if you didn't sign in, that you do. So we use that sheet for a couple of reasons. Number one, we use it as a attendance perspective for our city meeting minutes, which are published. Number two, the not so important thing is we are also capable of using it as a head count purpose in the event of an emergency. God forbid we have an emergency, but if we do, we are going to exit the building through the same doors that we came in, up the east side. We'll find a safe spot outside. We'll use the sign-in sheet to verify that everybody that was in the building is safely out of the building accounted for. Two, if you're on the agenda and we have the opportunity to open for the public input, please use the microphone on the podium. Everybody that's been here before or has listened in on the Zoom call knows that the sound is not awesome at all. So please, let's help each other out by speaking into the mic. Board members, same thing. Let's do them a favor and speak into the mic as best. We're going to get through this. The first one's always difficult, but we'll help you, you help us. Okay. First is these are the minutes for the commission meeting dated June 17th, 2024, and the public hearing minutes dated June 17th, 2024. Are there any modifications to the minute?
Actually, we're going to approve these minutes from the last commission meeting. There's no modification that I seem to need to, or anything. Okay.
If there are any modifications.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, with a motion and a second to approve the minutes dated June 17th. I'll move to a vote.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes. Commissioners report.
I have nothing to report.
I can work on the first 10 minutes on the job.
I don't have anything to report yet.
I do have something actually, but I am going to ask Josh to come up really quick and just do a fast 30-second explanation, please.
Good evening, Chief Nelson, Fire Police. The reason I'm coming up to you guys today is back in, I believe it was April, May, sometime around that time frame, I had gotten an application approved to go before 1% to develop and construct a new police department shooting range and dog pound. The result of that 1% meeting was they wanted me to come back to the commission they wanted me to seek that out for bids to get a more solid number on what that project would cost. Looking at that project, I do recognize the need for us to move our current shooting range given the nature of where it currently sits in the walking path that's going to be constructed right behind it. Obviously, we want to make sure that our officers are in a safe place where they're able to shoot. Our public is in a safe place while we're shooting. And that area is enjoyable recreational area that it's being designed to be. So where I'm at with this right now is I'm going to go ahead and rescind my 1% application. I'm going to be looking at different options on what I think would be appropriate option for our police department. I want to make sure that the option that we go with, that we'll come back with at a later time, and I don't know what that would be at this point, would be something that would be friendly to our budget operating expense wise. And so I just wanted to provide that quick update to you guys, to let you know that I don't have any further intentions with that 1% application to keep that moving down the tracks.
Thank you.
That is it.
Commissioner Dye, same thing, what you been working on the last 10 minutes?
This moment, I have nothing to report.
Okay, next is the modification and or approval of the agenda tonight. Okay, if not, we need a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Make a motion to approve the agenda. I'll second that.
Okay, with the motion and a second, if there are no other questions, comments, or concerns from the board, we vote.
Yes.
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 Carries. Okay, old business, number 1, legal report.
Thank you. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'll try to be sure to follow the microphone rule. I'll try to keep it brief because we have an unusually short agenda. It's worth noting, however, that approximately 1 hour before the present meeting, the regular meeting, the commission board underwent a review of the Williams County canvassing board results. Obviously, you see some new faces up here. So it's nice to see a full house to introduce a full new commission. It's also worth noting, because I do see a fair number of members of the public out there, that the commission, while during its reorganization meeting, made various assignments of portfolios. Just so if you have an issue, you know which new commission member you should speak to. Jess remains the police commissioner and fire department commissioner. Tim, we can get to your bit later, but Tim has been reassigned to streets. I think that may be a fleeting reassignment, based on some other news that he will share later in the commission meeting. It sounds like obviously we have a new commission president. Welcome, Mr. President. Congratulations on your election. Mr. Dye, Commissioner Dye has taken over for water plus the R&T board, and Commissioner Iverson is our new finance commissioner. So that the public is aware, those are the folks you report to when you have things within their portfolios. They have short reports and I've only been on the clock about an hour, so we'll give them a break there. I will have other business that might require my attention later in the meeting. I know there are a couple of points on the agenda that may need or promote legal guidance, but I don't have anything other than that to share tonight. I will add, I think we might have our engineer by Zoom. Josh, there are about 100 names on the screen and my eyes aren't good enough to read that. So if you are there, Mr. Reiner or someone from Moore, I did receive your email last week regarding a contract review. I don't yet have that ready this evening, but I'll follow up with you guys later this week or early next, depending on the schedule before the holiday. So I think that's all I have, folks. Thanks for coming tonight. And I guess I will add that I do appreciate the prior service of the commission members that they've made a tough job. They did a nice job, and we'll look forward to striking off with new members.
Is there any update you could give us on Terraflex?
Oh, I can, but it can be limited. Yeah, that's a fair question. What I can tell you is this, is that the project which involved Terraflex, those are the very wobbly sunken streets, that is presently, I see nods, that is presently under litigation. That's been filed in the form of a civil action in the district courts for Williams County. Because it is actively before a court, it's a multi-party lawsuit. I'm not permitted to discuss the substance of those facts with you. That would be inappropriate, acting as legal counsel. And given that it may ultimately come to some form of jury trial, which would involve input from all of you who are potential jurors in that action as members of Williams County. What I can tell you is that we are hopeful. Terraflex is hopeful of settlement. Terraflex's counsel has been communicative. I will give them that, and I won't dispute that. But as I said, it's multi-party litigation, and we've not been successful in resolving it short of full-blown court action to this point. That's what I can tell you.
Okay, number two, engineering report. Is Josh on Zoom or?
Excellent. Yes, I am on Zoom here. So was out of town here this week. So I guess with the new commissioners here, I look forward to getting a chance to meet you in person here, hopefully in the coming weeks. And I guess I'll I guess try and get contact information for each of you so I can share my information as well, so we can get in touch as needed. So with that, I will jump into the agenda. I didn't submit a written report this for this meeting, but have a few items I'd like to run through. The first being Northeast Tioga Reconstruction Phase 2. For those that may not be familiar with which project that is exactly, that is the project just north of Second Street, west of Come and Go. That's been ongoing for a couple of years now. Excuse me, that project, there's currently a punch list of items out there for the contractor to complete. They had started some of that work here this spring and into kind of some early summer, and since then it has been slow progress. They've had people out there a day here, a day there. And I did send a couple weeks ago a letter to that contractor requesting an updated schedule for completion of the project. And I have not received any response on that. There is, I guess, a provision within the contract that would allow the city to hire another contractor to come in and take care of that work and withhold payment for the value of that work from the contractor. However, that cannot occur prior to providing 7 days of formal notice to the contractor that is the city's intention. Wanted to throw that out there as an avenue to either kick them into gear or allow the city to hire somebody else to get that project wrapped up and put that one behind us. So wanted to throw that out there. On that.
Josh, we're looking for a motion on that, the city authorizing you to indicate as much to the contractor.
Yes, and I think that it would probably be most of, if the city does want to I guess use that mechanism through the contract, it would probably be most appropriate. I mean, I can certainly help draft the letter, but it would probably be most appropriate that it's at least addressed from the city. But I can certainly help out with pulling that together.
Josh, what was the timeline we set for him? I thought we gave him an earlier timeline to get done with June 15th or something.
Yes, so when they kind of coming into spring here, and construction season, I guess for that matter, they did indicate, 3 weeks or so would be what it would take for them to wrap up the project. And I believe they probably first arrived out on site probably mid-May, sometime early to mid-May here this spring was when they kind of started some of that work out there to wrap up the project. So we are definitely beyond that at this point. So
Assess LDs again.
that was one item I also did include in the letter, that the project still has not it has met substantial completion, but not final completion, and there are still liquidated damages for every day that passes that the project has not met that requirement. So there are those implications for them as well that the city may choose to assess at their next with their next pay application. So.
I guess the other question, Josh, that I would want the commission to consider, and maybe you can answer it, if the commission did elect to notify the contractor and give them their 7 days to either get it together or hire someone else, is there enough on account there that we're not worried about, I guess, an overage? I mean, the contract would have been bid some time ago, and presumably, the price of everything has gone up. Do we think that if we hired someone else, it would be over and above that, or what's the story there? Is there enough on account to cover a prospective contractor if they go that way?
Yes, there's the city's still holding 10% with 10% retainage on the project, which that I don't have that exact value, but it's 400 and some odd dollars, or 400 and some thousand odd dollars, excuse me. In addition to the I can't recall the exact dollar amount of this one as well, but the value of liquidated damages, which was 200 and some odd $1,000 as well, from dates from last year, of the contract completion being late. So there's $600,000 plus out there on the contract, which would more than cover what's outstanding out there. So
Josh, and I might have missed it, but when Tim asked what the completion date was, is there just a start date, substantial completion date, and no final date? Or is there a final date and they've just missed it?
So that project started in the spring of 2022 with a original substantial completion date of October 1st, 2022, and final completion of November 1st, 2022. So that, we're coming up on 2 years late on that. There's been a couple time extensions granted through change order on that. But it's the completion dates were still held within the 2022 calendar year. So even with the extensions that were granted, there's still well beyond contract completion dates.
So a year and a half later, kind of sounds like we lost accountability with the contractor. Say we do move towards a new contractor, how do we maintain the idea of holding these guys accountable for finishing their work on schedule?
Well, you don't get to hold them accountable for finishing their work on schedule because arguably they've already failed to do that. But what Josh was referring to were liquidated damages. And so that's a fine that is assessed via contract for every day that they're tardy. That's really the accountability mechanism. You can't force a man to work, but you can deduct his pay if he doesn't work as he agrees. That's the nature of the liquidated damages award, contractually speaking. So.
What do you think, Tim? Do you think it would be wise to do this and make this and?
You can try it. I don't know. The contractor we have to bring in, but I certainly think we should start assessing the LDs again. I mean,
With it being so late, Josh, would it be hard to get a contractor?
The majority of the the outstanding items are, you know, relatively minor, you know, it would probably be, most of the work is probably related to seeding, landscape restoration, you know, dirt work, pretty minor, work for the most part. So I don't see it being, it's not that we're, and there may be a couple other items, that we would have to have someone come in and do, but they would be, you know, they're all really relative, pretty minor, in the grand scheme of things. And I see it as being, possible to get somebody in here this year yet to, complete these items.
I got a question. So are you telling us that you paid these guys everything but $4,000?
No, I think what the engineer has suggested, Mr. Anderson, and for the record, he didn't speak into the podium. The question was whether we had paid the contractor all but $4,000. I think he probably missed because Josh corrected himself. Under a contract, there's a retainage amount and you hold it back pursuant to the contract, a certain amount. Josh here indicated the retainage amount was 10% on the whole project. And there's been a holdback amongst other things. We haven't paid them for the work that they haven't done. When a contractor does work pursuant to a construction contract, they submit pay applications. The commission reviews those pay applications, confers with the engineer, make sure that the work is done and makes any deductions that are appropriate. So Josh, I think you said the total that was held back was approximately between the unpaid work, the undone unpaid work, and the retainage was approximately $1,000. Did I hear that right?
Yes, correct. The retainage, and I can look it up here real quick, while we're talking. The retainage is over $400,000.
Okay.
So how much penalty have they had in the last year and a half, 2 years?
Well, Josh would have to do the math, but it goes by the day. Liquidated damages are determined by the day. So you
Right,
can-
have you received any of it though?
Wasn't there a number of like, it wasn't like 285?
There was some
Yeah.
discussion. that
$280.
yeah.
Something sounds
Okay,
right.
well, I hadn't heard them numbers, so just wanted to know.
So if we're talking about this a year and a half later and this penalty is due, what's the likelihood that their urgency to complete the project is because they're going backwards on it?
I would like to see it done, so I would be good with.
Josh, what's your confidence that they would finish if you gave them like firms?
You know, I mean, I think it's really, I mean, the project's been a struggle to say the least, the whole time. And you know, every year, or you know, coming into last construction season, there was hope that they would get their act together and reorganize over the winter and come in and guns blazing and get the project done. And you know, with how things have went this year, it's kind of been a piecemeal. You know, it is a punch list of items, so it's not, you know, major work, but there is tasks that need to be completed to close out the project. And they've kind of been piecemealing it, you know, have a crew come out for a day or two here and there and making little progress on it. And, you know, the fact that we are a year, you know, beyond a year and a half late on this contract, and they're still not getting to it to wrap things up. I think it's a sign that they aren't very motivated to complete it. And I think it's, you know, it does make sense to at least get that, I think, to get that letter sent to them and tell them maybe that'll either light a fire under them and they'll show up the next day and get it done. Or if they don't, within a week, the city can find somebody who will come out and complete that work. So it's not, you know, the letter that I'm suggesting as an option to send is not firing them. Or I guess, you know, terminating the contract. It's just saying that you aren't getting this portion of the work done. We need to get it done. We're gonna hire someone to do it and withhold it as payment.
Yeah, they have 7 days to get it done contractually, so that gives them a very discrete time period within which contractually they're obligated to do the work. And if not, you farm it out.
Do you believe that work could be completed in that 7 days?
I don't think that it's necessarily that they have to get it completed within 7 days. But it's that they need to be out there and actively satisfying their obligation of the contract. I think you could put those stipulations probably in that letter. But this, yeah, the work I would say could be completed within 7 days, though how regardless of that. It's not a huge undertaking. But of course with if we send it tomorrow with the 4th of July holiday in there, that kind of throws a wrinkle in getting it completed within 7 days, of course, to some degree. But
Would you say the hope with this letter would be to, so to speak, light a fire under them, hopefully to get out there, get this done? Which
yes, certainly. And that's always the hope, we never want to end up in that situation of having to do that, but it's more so, like you said, light a fire under them, get them to cooperate, based upon the requirements of the contract that they entered with the city.
with this letter, if, let's say that does not happen, we could move on and find a new contractor.
Yeah, as long as you meet with the terms of the contract, you'll just make sure that that was clear, and we intended to exercise our contractual options to find other contractors if they were unable to complete the work they agreed to complete.
I'm good with the letter, and Josh, you'll help construct the letter.
Yeah, I can certainly draft it and send it on to Liz and whomever else may want to take a peek at it before it's sent out. And then I would say it's probably most appropriate for the commission president probably to execute that.
Yeah, they just overextended themselves again. Guys are just as frustrated. Come here to do the work or have the help they need.
Okay, Josh, so you don't need like a motion for approval to sign the letter or anything.
I will. I'll make the motion for Josh to draft up a letter. And then to be reviewed by Liz and the president.
So the commission is authorizing, you're maybe that the commission authorized the drafting and conveyance of that letter.
Second that.
Okay, with the motion and a second to draft the letter for review. There are no other questions, comments.
Yes.
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 Carries.
Excellent.
Anything else?
What was that?
Do you have anything else?
Yes, I have a few other items here. These will be quite a bit more brief than that item. But Tioga Dam Recreational Trail Project, that project here was bid back in June. And awarded to Bechtold Paving at the last commission meeting. Contracts have been sent to the contractor, and we should have those for city signature at the next meeting. Moving on to the 3rd Street Northwest and North Hanson Street reconstruction project. That project walkthrough, we are looking at scheduling that for next week. Seating has been completed on that, so there should just be minor punch list items, remaining on that. For that project to be closed out, so. And the last item I have is the North Main Street reconstruction project. That is the project that he started here this spring. Construction's moving along nicely with that. The underground utility work portion on Main Street is completed. We'll be scheduling some of the final testing, televising of sewer, and other items here. And they'll be starting on the underground utility work on the Front Street and North Dixon Street, 2 blocks just southeast of City Hall there, after the 4th of July here when they return on the 8th. So moving along nicely there. Construction activity on Main Street. The Main Street portion will probably slow down here for a bit until the cement stabilized base crew comes in here in 2 to 3 weeks is kind of what it's looking like to start that start roadway base section construction and other activities beyond that. So that is all I have for this evening, unless if there are any further questions for me.
Thanks, Josh. You guys have anything else for me?
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business, number 3. Agreement on North Collins Street.
I live on Third Street, and as you guys know, anybody know that lived here more than 2 days, the street is now completely really narrow for some reason why it's built that, I have no idea. Anyway, lately it seems, more people can find up on that street really fast for how big it is. And in the 3 blocks between Third and Signal, there's at least 15 kids living there. And I've talked to most people that have kids on the street. And they'd like to see the speed limit slow down to at least at the most 15 miles an hour. And I agree. Same thing with Third Street. Josh and I have talked about the speed limit used to be 10. There used to be a sign posted there years ago. Nobody knows what happened to it. Why it was taken down. So I'm looking for it to get slowed down to 15 miles. Every time. I haven't talked to anybody on 4th or 5th, but I talked about it. See this commission, see what we can do.
It is a narrow street, it's basically one way.
We all have cars.
And I think there's been some close calls where kids on bikes have just about been hit in the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
So that's concerning.
I don't know what a speed limit they do actually, but
It might help at least remind people to slow down, speed limit on the street.
it takes police presence there too.
And that's how we've done that before. It lasts for a couple of days and straight back to where it is. I don't know what they feel.
Is that exclusively within the jurisdiction? Sorry, I don't recognize the Torning Street. Is that exclusively within Tioga City limits? None of that
Yes.
connects to county or?
It's close to where the construction is.
Shouldn't require interaction with the DOT or some other matters, because it's exclusively within the city and the commission has the authority to post what they wish.
I'm in favor of the speed limit being reduced because of the amount of kids and because of the complaints we find with children almost hit on bikes. I realize it might not be a quick fix, but maybe it will put in people's mind to slow down. On this.
is there a speed limit sign there already? Well, there was one and it was taken down.
We don't know what happened to it. You might remember, there was 10 miles an hour, because they're right beside Mountain South.
Must have been one we were thinking.
Yeah.
And just kind of manage.
Yeah. But like,
Yeah, I'm okay with it, you guys know. Rick doesn't want another stop sign. So you don't want a stop sign put in there, I'm sure.
I will, I make a motion to lower the speed limit to 10 miles per hour. Or 15,
15,
you're okay with?
as long as you're not doing 25, 30. Seems to be whatever.
Yeah.
Wants to do there.
Yes, that's true. We would make a motion, but the signs need to be ordered and then the streets department would need to be talked to Tim. Actually, we might have to help out with the street. Maybe, oh, anyway, I made a motion.
Thank you.
How is that spelled?
Need to motion to amend the speed limit, what was it, North Warren Street to Third, or Third to North Warren,
And North Forty.
and North Warren.
I second.
Okay, so have a motion and a second to amend the speed limit sign. Third Street, section North Point. So it's open for discussion now. I think we should probably run fast a little bit on this. before we vote. Do we have any idea like where the street limit sign would go?
That's something, Josh could probably help take a look at,
What is,
see where it could be posted.
what if superintendent if the landowner says, I don't want it? Move it to the next door.
Was that boulevard or sidewalk or what's over there?
It would be boulevard, but it would still have to be maintained by the property owner.
Yeah, so it would be most likely boulevard along the street if they were to place a speed limit sign, but for clarity reasons from where I'm sitting back there, it might be, healthy to outline where specifically between where and where on Torrey Street north there. So I'm assuming that's where you want, like Cody Torrey Street?
Yeah.
Yeah, where, between where and where on Torrey Street, so between Second and Fifth, or between Second and Signal, or something like that. But each property has an easement that has that boulevard, so you, city can actually put that signage there.
Yeah, we have, usable rights within the boulevard, we can't do things in people's lawns, of course, but the boulevards are slightly differently going on than a lawn.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns about the motion to amend the speed limit?
Yeah, so the motion is to lower the speed limit to 15 on Torning Street and Third Street.
Like it's just, sorry, are you trying to make an amended motion? Jess, are you amending your motion, or are you guys discussing where this should lie? The speed limit? Maybe somebody can help us.
So from Corning Street to, I'm talking about here right now, from Corning to Signal, I think it is, or at least up at Josh's house, right? Were you actually on Fifth? Corning?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the new pavement goes to, Signal. So I'm talking from there and at least Second Street to Signal on Corning Street. At least that, I'm not sure how many kids or whatever. Street seems a little wider south of one, or Second Street, so you can use that as your discussion. Talk to anybody on that either.
So you're requesting the 10 mile per hour speed reduction or amendment, however they phrase it, from Signal Road to Second Street on Torning Street.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Corning to Signal.
Or I'm sorry, 15 miles an hour
15, yes.
on Third Street. Okay. Did everybody get that? Okay.
The whole stretch north and south on the second.
Yep, second to say.
Still covered her original.
Jess should probably clarify her motion.
Okay,
Move to 15 mile per hour amendment reduction, but she didn't state from where.
I did not. So yes, from Torrey and Second Street to Signal. Is the reduction in speed limit.
If the speed limit used to be 10 miles an hour. Excuse me. The speed limit used to be 10 miles an hour. Has it actually been increased by any means, or is the sign just gone?
Signs is gone. I honestly, I don't remember even being two signs on that street, just the one.
It would be a reduction in speed at that point.
Well, it might be because if something unposted, then there's a statutory presumptive speed limit. Josh, do you, is there anything posted out there at all? So it's just the statutory presumptive speed limit.
Correct.
Okay. Probably 25 because it's residential. Yep. So you'd be reducing it by 10 miles an hour.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to reduce the speed limit to 15 miles an hour. Corning Street from Signal. Question?
Are you referring to lowering the speed limit on Third as well?
Yes, yeah.
On Third from 20 to
Signal, yes.
but not
Touring from Second to Signal and Third from 20 to Signal.
with, because that wouldn't affect anything east of town.
No, it's in town.
No, but I mean, in town, but only from Thornton going west.
Right.
Of these two streets.
Yep.
All right. I live on Third on the east side of the main street.
Oh, that's in west, northwest.
Signal Road's the intersection straight on Third, going west.
At the end of it, yes. It intersects northwest. At the end of it, it's Signal.
Is that what you anticipated, Cody's explanation? Is that what you were able to do? I have no visual.
Yes, I'm just trying to. I figured second and third would be covered through all the way up to Signal.
Third is, no, Third goes west.
Right.
So he's talking all of Corning, sketching Third Street.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's on the top of it. There's a curve, 30 shades of curve.
Yeah, it curves on it.
So is Third Street more narrow too? Why are we throwing that?
It's a little wider, but my neighbors have said, we've got, you know, there's even a stop sign at the end, but farther up the street, people don't go on that slow.
Maybe we should just start with Torning Street and just see how it goes. Thoughts on that? See if it deters people. If need be, we can do other streets.
So there's start.
Yeah. Sorry, yes.
So in my motion.
So
Are you amending your motion again?
So we should not need to amend.
Okay.
Touring from Second to Signal.
Yes,
we have a motion and a second to reduce the speed limit to 15 miles an hour from Signal Road to Second Street.
Torrey.
Central. So
Right.
there's one.
there is
Any other questions, comments, or concerns from the board? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, say yes. Roll call.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
yes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, new business number 4, water and sewer for Dakota Street. I'm sorry if I mispronounced this. Is it Colbert? I'm sorry, is it Colbert?
Colbert. Okay, I'll try to be quick.
probably a couple of years ago, my wife and I purchased the land, 8.5 acres on the southwest part of town, just south of the trailer court. All the way up to where Jamie and Lindsay ordered their house is basically. And, we built a house there and, they had to pay, well, we had a cost, which we probably didn't know of, but it was like 42 grand to bring sewer and water to my house. There was an 8-inch sewer line and a 6-inch water line, which is basically like the city infrastructure. So basically we paid it, it's done, it's complete. And, what I want to bring to you guys now is, what I'm trying to do, I hired a surveyor. But what I'm gonna do is split up that land going north into 1-acre lots. And what I'm gonna have to do now is sell one lot. So sell the north one of our, like, adjacent to our house, and then move lot by lot by lot. Because we don't have the funds to put the water and sewer all the way up to the trailer court, basically. Like down the road, Dakota Street South. So, yeah, so basically how we're gonna have to do it right now is sell lot number 2. And then the purchaser is gonna be responsible for putting in that sewer water going north. And then when we sell lot 3, so on and so forth, so we'll have to tear up the grass in the ground 6 times. So separate times, depending on when, people purchase the land. And if we even sell any, I think we will. I mean, there isn't any 1-acre lots in town currently, so I think this is actually an opportunity for the city to have more taxes and revenue also from selling and building and moving in and stuff like that, so. That's basically in a nutshell. I don't know if there's something the city can do, you know, or, you know, I asked around, I guess there's specials that are available, but the specials are only 10 years. You know, so basically, yeah.
So can I ask Mr. Colbert, you're not, are you asking for the ability or application to subdivide? Because that's something that goes through planning and zoning and then comes to the commission, or are you asking to try to address the issue of water and sewer infrastructure? You got 2 things going on there. Which one are we talking about?
Sewer water.
Okay, you got the sewer and water, so you've already taken care of the subdivision issue with planning and zoning.
Yes, no, I have the, basically, I'm at the point where we're gonna get the final approval. But what I feel like is if the city infrastructure is there, then it's obviously up to the purchaser of any of the land or whatnot to tie into the city's stuff, you know, like, I forgot what's called. A riser, per se, you know, like the little tap, like a 1-inch line going to the house for the water, and then like a 4-inch sewer line, per se. That would be up for the homeowner, or the landowner, or whoever, if they wanted to put something there. Does that make sense? So I didn't know.
Discuss, I mean, there is something that's available sometimes, but that requires discussion with the city. I think when you said specials, I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. Were you talking about special assessment for infrastructure or special improvement? What were you talking about that you thought would be too expensive or?
Okay, see, what I was thinking originally was, it's approaching the board saying, hey, can you guys help me out with putting this stuff in so it's only torn up one time? And you charge for 30 years on that parcel number or something, you know, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know how that stuff works. But basically have that carried out through time to pay it. You know what I mean? Like sewer or curb gutter, stuff like that, because that road is only a half road right now.
Wouldn't it be safe to say that a construction project like that could cost around $1 million or so? Bringing that. I think that's sewer and water, so you would want to assess that property for 30 years. So if you're not selling that property, then you're making special assessments. You would be.
Yeah. each, yeah, basically.
It was considerably less than that. We met with one of the specialists. And when the city does it, you know, there's like $100,000 charge right off the bat for. And more has to do it. That's another $100,000. So by the time you get up there, I think we were maybe $500,000. I'm just going.
I think it was like 200 or 250.
With all the costs of it. Yeah, typically we've only done a 10-year special. So.
But I
It
also,
would be a lot.
I wasn't sure if that was all factual too, but that's why I'm approaching for it.
I don't have any reason to say that's not factual. I mean, I'm generally aware that our specials run on a 10-year track, and I would recommend to you that, I mean, that's not to say that that's, I mean, it could be shorter, and I haven't checked. There might be the ability under statute to go longer, but then we run into the issue of treating different projects differently, and that's kind of a nightmare. I don't know anything about the underlying numbers or what that would cost. I wasn't party to that conversation, but a special is assessed back to the owner. And it's typically over a 10-year window. And Tim's right, sometimes when you have a government project or a municipal project, it costs a lot more than a private person maybe could get it done for because we're obligated to hire a city engineer and we're obligated to go through various processes that maybe private owners might be really. So it's something to bear in mind, kind of from an ultimate expense standpoint.
Yeah, because if it is 10 years, then I'll just have to rip up the road or rip up the whatever 6 times. Well, it won't be me, but it'll have to be torn up 6 times. And then fire hydrants moved and clean outs moved. Like, I don't know. At that point, I'm kind of gonna back away from it. So.
So I was kind of involved with this deal too, with Brian. I bought a lot. And I went to planning and zoning and I wanted to build houses in town. So I went around town and I looked for a lot. There was none. They were these little tiny lots, but you can't build a 3,000 square foot house on this small. So I made a deal with Brian and I went to planning and zoning and I did everything. By the time it was all done and said, I was told that there would be specials put on for the street and whatnot. And I did all the math on it. It was around $200,000 it's gonna cost me to get my water and sewer because there's a problem up there. The water and sewer is not big. It's, and I don't know all the details on it, but it's, some of the sewer on the lots will have to go to the north and because down by the trading court, those lines are, that's what it's a fourth part of it. And so that deal didn't work out. So then I tried buying some land from Jessica Buckley at that. The same problem. There's no place to put the sewer because the sewer at the trailer court is too small to handle. And I come here and I talk to the city. I think the city needs some lots, and I don't know that they need to pay for everything, but if somebody moves to this town right now, there's not a place to build a house. KSI come to this commission, asked for help with their sewer, and they handed them $500,000, just handed it to them and said, here we go. I don't know that that's what Brian's asking for, but I do think the city should look at helping get some infrastructure up there because there's no place to move into this town. There's no house for sale, and with the Chevron deal out the gas plant, if some higher ups want to move to town, where are they supposed to live? Where would they build out? Tim, did you got any comments on it? I mean, is there any place to build a 4,000 square foot house in Tyler right now? That you know of?
No, those are great lots.
Is there any house for sale there?
Just the tricky part is we put in that infrastructure and then Brian's the developer basically. So all of a sudden he's got a lot that's not worth 30, is worth 60. And he's got 8 of them, you know, because we put in the water and sewer. That's the tricky part.
That needs to be discussed. But I was told that the specials had to be put on because everybody else in town at one time had to pay specials, and that's not true. Most of the people in this town that pay specials have passed away or left.
I mean, I would guess that there's a handful of people, but since this oil has gotten good, there's been a lot of money that's come into this stuff. And, I don't think there's any specials being put on anywhere in town that I know of. And I don't know why there would be if the city's getting all this oil impact money. That seems to me like that's a no impact deal. Where do you put the people that come here? I don't know what the answer is, but I think that, that would be suicide.
It's a lot to digest now. I apologize. A few of us have only been on the job for like 50 minutes now.
You're doing a wonderful job.
Is it? It's not gonna work like this. Would it be okay with you if we take some time to digest all that and kind of run the graphs on everything that you're talking about? Because right in my mind, I can picture kind of what you're talking about, but I don't know what the existing infrastructure looks like. I'm assuming it's plugging Dakota Street.
The water and sewer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. They get a line all the way going to the north, right up on the edge of the road.
Is that a fair request?
Oh, to take it under advisement, it's kind of a complicated, I mean, it's not complicated in the sense that we understand what you're proposing, but it's complicated to consider what your options might be as best works for the city and the owner. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I'd like to add one thing. Ken, a guy named Ken, he owned property that's basically, there's a plan, I guess, Dan showed me a long time ago, but there's a plan that eventually kind of try to build like to the west of our house and kind of like start filling in that area and do a park or something. So there's no water around there. So if the water was put in and like I pay for it and then other people are gonna have, it's like, I almost feel like I should say, hey, no, that's my water. You know what I mean? Just for my heart, you know what I mean? But that's another food for thought, right?
There's one other thing. So where Brian's living, he bought that land. He had a deed for that land. And somehow Jamie Unigard was told he could build his garage. There's supposed to be a street going past Brian's place, but he owned that land. And the city told Jamie he could build that garage there. So actually Jamie was backing, every time he backed out of his garage, he was backing onto his land. So he come and he give the city an easement for, whatever, I don't know what the dollar figure was, but he wouldn't have really had to do that. They would have had to put up a domain on it, but he still had to put his water and sewer in with all of the help. That seems like that's something to.
Because technically, I mean, we own, like right off their driveway, that's our land. And the city told them that city told them that they were good to go, like the city owned that. And they don't still. So, but that's, I'm not here for that.
Can you tell us what year that, I'm just thinking for background for you guys, if we can start having an idea of what the area looks like, what's there, do you know what year that was, the whole driveway ordeal and the easement? That way there, everything that's out there and can go back over minutes and see what was said and what wasn't. When that was, give or take, what year even? Oh, okay, so recently, somewhat recently,
All 22, was it
22?
Yeah, I think it was 22.
When that house was put in and that land that he's talking about, that was back in 2010 where stuff just signed off.
Okay, so it started way
So
early.
then when he bought his house and Dan kind of figured out that there's a problem there. So I think we paid like 15,000 or 20,000.
I think there was a verbal agreement around this.
Around 15. Then they charge you what, 30 or more for the water and sewer?
42 for everyone, but
He lost money if you get these.
Hey, guys.
Have you been paid for that, Brian?
you what?
Have you been paid for that?
No.
Hey, guys, I just want to remind you, we've got people on Zoom call that can't hear you at all. If you're talking back there, if you want to bring something, come on up. What happened a year and a half ago when you brought it up?
When I brought it up a year and a half ago, it was to help with paying for the water and sewer.
Yeah.
Or no, it was so long ago.
I thought you were working on subdividing. I remember
And
there.
yeah,
was an
no,
issue.
I already have plans, I just basically have to pay for it, I haven't paid for it yet, but I just have to pay for it and then have a city meeting. Stamp the Mylar, send it to Williams County, they approve it, it's, yeah, it's basically like a done deal, I mean, I think it is, but, that's for the subdividing. And then in that subdividing plat, where it shows all the lines and the measurements, it shows like where the city wanted 0.62 acres for the right of way on the south end. So that would give access to the future park, that's gonna both will go back over there. Because then Jamie and Lindsay would technically have access to, like, full legal access to their house. I mean, technically, I could put a fence up, I'd never do that, but, you know what I mean? But, you know. So, my deal was, in that meeting, was to come here and say, hey, like, let's wheel. The city, there's certain people in the city that wanted something so they felt better, like an agreement, and, on that right of way, and that right of way was the meeting. It wasn't anything to do with water and sewer. When I was building my house, I got sticker shock on the price of it. But that was, the city didn't have anything to do with that. I asked the city for help. They said, no, you're a developer. I'm like, okay. And I had to pay for I had to remortgage my house, you know, down south in order to put the stuff in, and I wasn't expecting the extra $42,000, you know. And technically the city stuff, and then I also had to pay for the riser to tie in too. So that was an extra cost. So it's this 8-inch sewer line. Just for multiple homes, and then 6-inch water line for 6-inch water line is huge, but I don't know why it needs to be that big.
Again, my personal one would be, give us a minute to get into, you know, work with the city and how all this stuff works. We really don't have a screen.
Yeah, and I should have had drawings and stuff like that, I apologize.
It's fine.
I think that we should help Brian out, but I don't know that we should be coming up with it right now. Maybe we should just hold off and kind of explore options, whether to, put them in and put specials on, or help you pay for it in some way, shape, or form. Because I do feel like you are owed something. Because you came here and asked them to cover the water line just for the easement part, and you were turned down, and I don't think that was right, so. But I don't know that we should make that decision right now. We might want to just wait and explore the options.
A lot to consume in the first 50 minutes of your career.
Right, no, it's good though. We need to do everything.
I wouldn't, I would just table it and you can return to it. You don't want to do anything on a motion or it could cause problems later. So why don't you just, it's taken under advisement. You don't even have to move to table it because there's no motion on the floor. It's taken under advisement and follow up.
Just out of curiosity, so what does that mean for me? I need to come to another meeting?
That means that they should diligently research the issue and some member of the city will reach out to you and that there may be, you know, I mean, you guys may speak to him independently, you may speak to Dan. I have no idea who will call you or who's tasked with it. It kind of depends on what options develop, but someone from the city will contact you. And then if you need to come to another meeting, they will tell you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me, just, I guess, let me know.
Sure.
Yeah, let us do some work, and I wanna do the work for you, because right now it sounds like we have the option of help or don't help. I don't know if anyone's attempting to explore creative ways to make this beneficially sound to the folks. I think we'd all like the opportunity to explore that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, new business number 5, community center, Bob Scarpa.
President, for the record, I'm Bob Scarpa, Iowa, North Dakota. And I don't know if you got any of these, but it's a handout that, Mr. Harms prepared. And it's a timeline for what's happened in our community. And I'd like to start first by thanking Mr. Reinertz, Mr. Dye, and Mr. Iverson for having the intestinal fortitude to step into the arena and be part of the city government in Iowa. I cannot tell you how frustrated a lot of us have been with what's transpired. $16 million expenditure by a community of this size is mind-boggling. And I'm not sure how it's gonna really benefit. Because there's so little information been able to be had about what's involved in this addition to the community center that I find it just infuriating. There's been very, very little public participation. We had to try to sue to get the people to be able to be involved and have an election to decide whether or not this should move forward. It's sitting in court. I don't know if somebody's slow walking it or what's going on. But it's just infuriating for those of us who find it almost impossible to imagine. And when construction started down by the community center this last week, that was inexcusable. It's the only word I can think of that's fitting with what's expected to transpire over this next week. A handicapped person can't even be driven up to the front door of the community center now after what transpired. They tore up the driveway, the new driveway in front of the building. You know, that's inexcusable when you have an all-school reunion that happened. And I think since the contract was drafted to begin construction on the 15th of July, the very least this city commission should do is suspend any more activity relative to that construction until such time as they have time to evaluate the appropriateness of this. Very few people from this community were involved in helping to plan what's going to be constructed, or what's being proposed to be constructed, and what's contracted to be constructed. And that contract was signed on 28th of May of this year, just prior to you folks being elected to the commission. Thank you very much to the old commission. Inexcusable, absolutely inexcusable. You know, there's a lot of things that could be done with $16 million. Building a gym is not one of them that I would think this community should aspire to, because the school is going to build one. We don't need two. If we have a good one at the gym, at the school, that's enough. If you think you're going to have basketball tournaments, you know, or any event to fill that facility, you're kidding yourself, because you're not going to be able to get the help to even operate it. You're not going to get the help, have the help to feed the people who would come if there was such an event. It's ludicrous. There's a lot of facilities in different communities across this state that we should look at if we want to do something. I was told today about a friend that had been to Dickinson and seen their new Dickinson Center. He said it's absolutely amazing what's down there. I haven't been there. I haven't looked at it, but maybe there should be a group of people in this community that take the time to travel around and take a look at what's out there, what we should be considering if we're going to spend $16 million. And what's wrong with saving money? You know, I mean, if you had a few $1 million in the bank and some gentleman like Mr. Colbert come up and needed some help, you'd have the money to help him. If you spend it all, you know, you're not going to be able to help And the operating cost of, a $16 million facility without an operating budget? I mean, no good business would ever consider spending that kind of money without some type of operating budget to know what it's gonna cost to operate. I mean, whoever triggered this construction that started prior to this all-school reunion should be relieved of their duties. And I'm serious, and there's a few other people in the city administration that should be relieved of their duties. If you look at the timeline, and that's what this sheet is about, is a timeline for the development. of
Mr.
the
Scarpel, I
plan.
hate to interrupt you, but I don't have that in my commission packet. I don't know, do you guys have a timeline? We have,
To the people in the audience, but
can I borrow one from an audience? It's hard for us, we want to hear you, but if we can't see what you're looking at, we don't know what you're looking at, so. Thank you so much. Some of those, if you have anybody else that can volunteer to offer one to the commission, that would be helpful. Thank you so much. Go ahead and pass that. Oh, perfect. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Everybody get one. Thank you.
conversations that have taken place amongst the citizens of Tioga relative to this, there's very few that can find out what's transpired. We've asked for the minutes of the meetings that were held to develop this plan. There were no minutes. That's what we were told. There are no minutes. There was no publication of any meetings where the public could participate in the planning, other than after the decision was made, what was going to be built. And then there was a committee created, and they could have moved a wall or two or decided what color to paint the walls, but the footprint had been set. There wasn't any option to change anything once that committee was created. We've made open records requests, we've been rebuffed. I mean, I'm sorry, Mr. President, but there needs to be massive change in the administrative offices in the city of Tioga. Massive change. It's been just infuriating to try to make logic out of this. We got signatures from over 400 people saying, let's have an election. It was ignored. It was totally ignored. We followed the ordinances in the city ordinances and created a petition that only citizens of the city of Tioga signed. We had 264 signatures. It was ignored. The ordinances were ignored. I mean, so that's what's in court. It's an appeal to the court, try to get the court to say whether or not we have to have an election. I think you folks should make that decision. I think you folks should decide to let the people of Tioga speak about whether or not they want a $16 million facility built with as little planning and as little insight as they have into what we're going to create. I spent 22 years in state government. And if we'd have run the state government the way the city has run this city to date, we'd have been in a lot of trouble for violation of open meetings laws, for failure to provide records. I'm sorry, but anytime you have a quorum of people in of a governmental entity, you have to have a design agenda and a posted meeting notice. You can't just meet in a back room and decide what you want.
So I don't recall any quorums without any meetings being posted. Do you have any dates for when these so-called meetings were held?
I think if you read through this, you will find that you can't conceivably design a $16 million building without having meetings that should have been posted, made public, and had agendas for them. And when you do have meetings, they should have minutes recorded. And we've asked for minutes and been told there are no minutes. There are no minutes. There's a list of meetings on this sheet that should have had minutes. There are no minutes. That's what we hear. Well, that's a violation. I suspect if the Attorney General were were to come in and investigate, there'd be a lot of violations of what's supposed to be the law of the state of North Dakota.
Well, I'm gonna say, Mr. Scarfo, and you and I can agree to disagree, but I've never received an open records request from you. I'm not aware, the auditor forwards to me.
I'm not saying they were
Yep,
from me.
Please let me finish, because I wanna make sure that the public is appropriately apprised of how the city deals with its obligations under 4404 of the North Dakota Century Code, which is the open records law in the state. And sounds to me like if you were a senator for a couple of decades, you're aware of that. I'm aware that there have been a host of open records requests that have been made. To the degree that I was copied, I know that they were very timely sent to those who actually requested them. They were complete. I know that sometimes when people receive records, they would like to argue about what they say. That's their right. People are allowed different opinions, but I fundamentally reject the assertion, because I'm aware of when those were made and what was made and how they were satisfied. If the city has ever violated open records law or ever declined to produce documents due to a member of the public. That is just not true, period, end of discussion. And if I'm wrong and you can point to some specific instance, I assure you I'll correct it right away, because that's an obligation we've always taken quite seriously, but it doesn't exist as far as I'm aware. So go ahead and finish, but I want to make that clear to the many people sitting in this room.
So you're telling me that you can provide all of the records for the creation of the planning, of the planning and the work that's been done. You can substantiate all of the meetings and give me all of the records for all of the work in order to come up with this $16 million facility with the
I
minutes
think
of the
they've been
meeting.
tendered. Yeah, I think they've been tendered repeatedly to your colleague, Mr. Harms. You would have to ask him how he interprets them, but every record that we have with relation to the community center and every meeting we've ever had on it, that's been documented in accordance with 4404.
I'm not talking about just city commission. I'm talking about the meetings that were held amongst some group of.
I don't know who those people are. And so if you know of
So
people,
on what authority are we building a $16 million facility? And where did the plan come from? It didn't magically appear in this city commission room.
the city noticed, bid, and discussed a project over the course of several years, and we can pull that and produce that again. I mean, I'm sure I could almost forward it to you right now, because I've literally assisted with probably 40 emails dealing with open records production. So that's been conveyed, but my point is, it went on for years. So if you're looking in the last 5 minutes, I probably couldn't show you the last 5 minutes of records, but if you were looking over the course of the 2.5 years of discussion surrounding this project, you would certainly find it. And I would tell you that they're probably in the possession of your colleagues standing behind you right now.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, for the record, Robert Harms. The purpose of having this conversation really is to help the commission understand the lack of public input on this project. We can argue whether open records requests were timely responded to, or if they were made at all. But just at the first couple of paragraphs of the summary that I've put together, on August 17th, 22. So this project began with a motion to create a committee that included the people that are listed there in the top paragraph. They met repeatedly for a couple months and then announced a $16 million project, complete with drawings, designs, everything. So after that, we made an open records request to the auditor. And on August 17th, she advised, there are no minutes for the Tioga Community Center Committee that I'm aware of. She's the manager, she's the day-to-day clerk for this body. That was her response to our request for the minutes of that committee that developed this project and announced it in the late February of 2020. But the point being, there has been no public input, no public hearings, no needs assessment, none of that to help the public express their views to this body as to how best to use these $16 million of public funds. That's the issue. And we can argue there. I have a whole record. I've identified a few things in the yellow. I asked for the minutes
for the May 23rd meeting. And in writing, I was told no such record exists. I had to restate it the second time. I repeated it, filing 4 requests for those minutes, and then I got them. That's just an example of what we've been going through to help the public get a voice in this huge project for which there's no O&M budget that's even been developed.
So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, and members of the commission, I'm dead serious when I say I really believe that you have the authority and the responsibility to suspend further construction on this project until you have time to take a hard look at what's being suggested and the cost associated with it long-term to the community title. $16 million, you're not gonna operate for peanuts. You're talking real money for people to take care of, maintain, and heat and cool and do whatever needs to be done with that side of the facility. And the need for another gymnasium, I don't believe it's there. I absolutely don't believe it's there. You want to spend $16 million, I think there's a lot better ways to utilize that money. We have facilities in this town that can use help, improvement, updating, services. I mean, there's so many things that you could do with that kind of money other than build a gymnasium that I think you owe it to yourselves and to the people of this town to take a pause and decide again whether or not you're going to have people participate in this, or you're going to have a small group of individuals come up with a plan to spend a real nice chunk of money. And with that, I stand for any further questions.
So contract states construction starts July 15th.
Shoot.
The contract, with the contract.
Right.
I don't think there's any provision saying that they can't start early. Although it could be misconstrued as slightly malicious or maybe super ambitious. They want to get a head start. It's summer, good weather. I don't know. So the ask would be to pause. The pause till contract start date of July 15th. I don't think we can put together the big asks like the vote and all that. I don't know about that. I don't know the background on it. I think again, this is going to be one of those things where we need to sit back and digest and do our homework.
And Mr. President, that's what I'm asking. Step back, take a look, ask other people in the community to get involved and to help you take a look. You know, there's probably people that will be more than happy to go take a look at what other communities are doing for their centers, whatever they mean. You know, I mean, we all hear about the Rough Rider Center in Watford City. You know, like I said, I was told today about a center in Dickinson. There's all kinds of places that have done things that probably would be much more appropriate than what's being suggested here.
So I don't know if there's any plans to do any further construction before the 15th. Again, I didn't know there were plans to start construction before the 15th.
There's a mobilization schedule. It's fairly routine, and I'm surprised you don't know that. It's fairly routine when you have a massive construction project and there is a schedule. I would have to find it, but the engineer and the construction team work together to make sure that they can mobilize what they need to do to get a correct start date, right? Because we spent the first hour of this meeting discussing what we do when companies fall behind. And so a failure to mobilize, a failure to collect materials, a failure to congeal a workforce, a failure to move dirt, all of those things may delay a project. I don't know what that schedule looks like, but I know it's routine, and I'm nearly positive, but I couldn't tell you for sure that there is some mobilization schedule that exists with regard to that project. If you'd like to make an open records request, I know that we could find it for you. I haven't been asked for that record, but I know that I've seen it.
I would think any city employee who had the lack of respect for the community to trigger this thing and have it happen right before an all-school reunion where they're looking for 500, at least 500 people that are registered to come into town and want to look at their community they were raised in. To trigger that construction project and make the mess that's been made around the community center is inexcusable. Absolutely. I'm sorry, there's no way to make any other judgment on it. The contractor it wasn't required for him to consider starting early. He could have been told to wait until the date on the contract.
Well, can you just tell us so that if the commission wishes to act and change any course of business in the interest of those community activities, what specifically is the impediment that's been created to the community activities?
As I said, they dug up the driveway going across in front of it. They made a mess in that area of town. I mean, you don't tear up your yard when you have company coming. Thank you, Mr. President.
Kevin Colby, Mayor Brady Thomas, we all, just to reiterate what Bob Carpel was saying. Look at that agenda, look at that, what they handed you. Not one petition was ignored. 400 signatures ignored by 2 people on the board. And then again, 250, when the requirement was 198, ignored. Just think about that, people. That's all I got to say. You just don't listen to the people that vote for you? Come on. It's embarrassing. The disgrace of this town and this community.
Bob Anderson, and I know this is a tough night for you guys just starting and stuff. But I think Bob and Kevin are right. We need to suspend this, put this on hold. And I would highly suggest that we just stop this until we have more of a plan. And I would really encourage you guys all to look into this $10 million bond that we got in here to see, so you can make a good decision what's going on or what we can do going forward. But I would definitely stop this stuff, all this foolishness, and maybe we can get a voice of the people finally, after over 2 years of us asking for it, trying to be good, and we were sabotaged every way through. So whatever you want to say about that is, I'm telling you, that's the way it was.
You can point your finger at me, Bob, but the record speaks for itself, and I try not to point at others, so some amount of decorum is fair. I know it's a hot button topic, but the law is the law, and I guess the only thing I would tell this commission, if you're new, it is certainly, there are a lot of records there. There are contracts that exist. As your legal counsel, I would urge that you make no decisions this evening, but I would also urge that you investigate the claims of your citizens, weigh them against the records and the obligations that exist, and render judgment accordingly.
So I guess it kind of goes back to my first question. If we pause all construction until the official start date, 15th, regardless of what's underwritten as far as mobilization, I don't know if we're not doing it or not. I think we are. I feel like we are.
I don't know the yard.
What can we get done?
Well, so they are going to be cleaning up as much as they can right now, so you don't want to pause them, so you can make sure that they get everything cleaned up, and that there will be no construction during the all-school reunion, the 4th of July.
Yeah, I'm told, and I don't know, I'm told that they mobilized early specifically with the intention that they would not be interfering with the events of this week. That's what I'm told, and I don't know that for sure, but I'm seeing nods from other people who might be more knowledgeable than I am. But the entire point was to get things done in advance of community celebrations and in order, so that as soon as those things were over, they could timely clip along with their work. So I don't know, that's what I'm told. I'm not policing construction projects at present, but that's my information.
with Ron and lived in this town for 45 years. But I was told that the reason why it was started, and it was somebody on the board, I cannot use their name. But the reason why they tore up part of the driveway was once they started it, we couldn't stop it. And we can't stop it anyway because it didn't matter how many signatures we brought in. Because the old board did not want to hear any opposition. They just wanted to hear the people that were for it. Because the people that were against it was all about hate. And that's what we heard for 7 months. But this is the first time I've seen a full board here. And that's pretty darn cool. I like that a lot. Thank you guys for stepping up and running. But I think that's why half the driveway was tore up, and that's all they tore up. So it isn't because they needed to start on it, because it only took a couple of days. There was other motivations behind tearing up half of the driveway. But you know what that half of driveway would make? Make for a good parking lot for handicapped people.
Okay, Keely Hammers for the record. So one question I have is if we stop the construction now, you guys are worried about money, what's it gonna cost us to stop the construction? Because obviously they're not just gonna sit there, right? That's gonna cost us money. That's going nowhere. Okay, I'm a substitute teacher. I work at the school. I have kids and I coach softball. The gym space that we have is absolutely not feasible for our athletes and our sports. When it comes to high school, we have baseball, softball, track, all indoors. We know how the weather is. You can't get outside. Okay, so when it comes to gym space, it is horrendous. Sometimes we have practice till 10 o'clock at night. And then the kids have schoolwork they have to get done. They have to eat dinner. They have to be up for school. They have to be positive minds. Okay, so yes, they're building another one at the high school, which is amazing, but we do need that space. Every time we call the community center, usually people are using it. It's full. We can't get in there to have our practices. Another thing is the community is extremely worried about kids and having activities to do and, staying out of trouble, and these kids are so bad. Well, this also gives an opportunity for the children of Tioga to have a place to go. I know there's not a farm festival building, okay? You can't store animals in there. I get that. But you look at the Halloween parties they have there, look at the Christmas parties, all the things they have there, they're packed full. They're jam-packed with all of the kids that could be out there doing drugs and doing all of these things that nobody wants to have. Okay, I also see in here, it says like an indoor swimming pool, see killdeer. I know personally, because I go in and I actually sit down and do ask questions to Abby or do ask questions to Dan, because I do care about the finances and I do care where the money's going and what it's being spent on. An indoor swimming pool is absolutely not an option. It costs 10 times more than an outdoor swimming pool, let alone, like you said, you can't find workers, right? So why would we get an indoor swimming pool? And they did do the research. They called all around because that was one of the things I asked. Why can't we have an indoor swimming pool? We have to go to Stanley. That sucks. But they have done the research for that. I think that, maybe financially, I get it, but tax-wise, it's not affecting our taxes, right? Everybody's worried about their money. But this is something that's gonna come to the community and it's gonna bring for kids. I mean, I play pickleball and I've come to meet old people that I've never met in my life that come and play pickleball. Yeah, we go in there, we have birthday parties. You have all kinds of stuff at the community center. The police officers, they do all kinds of fun stuff with the kids that would never be possible anywhere else because the schools are all full, the gyms are full. Okay, so for me, I mean, whether they went about it the right way or the wrong way, I guess that's to each their own. I know the board that they created, anybody could join. So any single one in the audience could have joined that board. So if you were extremely concerned about it, you could have hopped on. I know there was public forums held at the community center multiple times where people could go there. But I'm just saying, as a mother and as a community member, a coach, a teacher, all of that, I know that the community center gives a big opportunity for the kids to stay out of trouble. You know, it's, okay, let's fix more streets, or let's build something, you know, for an indoor shooting range. We have shooting ranges, we have all this stuff. Let's do stuff for the kids. Our kids are growing, okay, the town's growing, our community, our schools are huge. My son's class has over 60 kids. They need things to do. In the winter, they can't go to the park. You want them to sit on technology? Or do you want them to be at a community center where we can play and do things and interact with people? That's my biggest thing.
Hi, commissioners, lawyer, people, this is what I just want to say, and I don't want to just say it to you commissioners. I call myself a settler, been here for 30 years, I don't like myself. I love Tioga dearly. Here's the thing, the problem is not the community center. I've been down there, I went to the 5th anniversary, my grandkids go there. The problem is they didn't listen to the people. The people wanted to vote. They didn't listen. We put up signatures, we got signatures, we wanted to vote.
Yes.
I wanted my older people that are been here and know the history of the farm festival going broke, they have to go to the city. I wanted them to be able to have their opinion. I didn't want to just say, we're gonna get 5 or 6 middle-aged kids that work at the community center, I think. I'm not sure, because I've only been to 2 meetings. And I mean, yes, I love the kids of Tioga. My boys played sports here, my grandkids are gonna be here. I'm a homesteader. The issue that Bob are trying to get, they didn't let the citizens vote, guys.
That's right.
They didn't let us say or no. People have come up to me and say, you're against the community center, you can't go there. I said, I love the community center, I'm not against it. It's just that Tioga, even if there was 5 people that showed up to vote, at least they're asking us. You know, we can't get everyone, we can't control the people. We cannot control the people. We have to, even 5 votes, at least we know only 5 people cared. And that's what it is. I know it's a bunch of lawyers and a bunch of things, like, I am just sitting here thinking, if that guy would have stood up 10 years ago and come to this commissioner meeting, I've been there, I've done that. They would have said, go hire a lawyer, write up a project, present it to the city, we'll see what we think. They wouldn't say, okay. And if someone come in and said, I want the speed limit changed, they would have laughed in my face. They would have laughed in my face and said, well, that street's pretty narrow, you gotta slow down anyway. I drive that street every day to go to my farm right now. I know that street. I know the people that live on it. I even know you live there. I waved at you the other day. Why put up a speed limit sign? They would say, you gotta wait. You gotta stop so one car can go around. You gotta stop to go around another car. We played kick the can on Willow. There wasn't no stop signs. And there was 65 kids in my class in school. I know it's tripled or doubled or whatever. But the whole reason of this meeting tonight is not against the community center, are for it. The thing is, the commissioners didn't ask us, of citizens of Tioga, what we want. They just went ahead and did it. And do we want to do that? No. Do we want, I mean, if 5 people show up, that's 5 votes. It might be 3, 4, or 2 against. You're still gonna have the people's choice. It's not about the community center. It's about giving the citizens of Tioga a choice, and a little bit of control. Like I said, back in the day, someone come to ask for a stop sign, they'd say, you gotta go slow anyway, the speed limit's only 25 miles an hour. I know, I lived here. I'm not kidding you. They would have shut you down. They would, you know, it's like I said, I'm talking over. Too much, right, Jim? Too much. So I just want you guys to know it, especially you young guys. I love the gyms, I love the sports. And it's not about the gyms and the sports. This is about city government. Okay? I think my husband's calling me up to tell me to shut up. So I'll just let you know. Yeah, I did. I got out. Gonna ask a question.
Ashley Mesker. Hello. My question. Haley, I think, said we were the board of the people. Anyone could have joined it. When was that? I'm actually asking.
When they created the board,
Huh?
when they created the board, they put it out there.
Wait, but when?
Oh, God, that's been many, many months ago. We actually had a 17-man board. She remembers that correctly because everyone who submitted a letter of interest was placed on that board. I mean, I was kind of against it, to be honest, because who starts a 17-man board? That's like pretty bad. But the commission allowed.
So,
I didn't hear about myself.
isn't it right at the top of,
I don't have one.
Lauren's sheet?
I don't have one. No, that was a different board. That was an earlier board. There's been several boards. It's like the organized or the another board.
So to answer your question, the committee that was established at the very beginning of our summary, January 18th, 2022, that was the committee that was appointed by this commission to develop the community center plan. There was no opportunity. The committee was decided by motion. It was identified by the names that are listed right there. This came right out of the city commission minutes. That's the first committee. The second committee was formed in September 27th, 23. That's at the bottom of the first page, excuse me, on July 17th, 23. And they.
Is that on here, Mr. Harms?
Yes, 7/17/23, first page. This comes right out of the minutes as well. And that, the language there says that we will form a committee that will assist with the community center expansion. And then the city invited applicants, I was one of them, invited people to participate in that committee, but the committee's assignment was limited. It could not change the footprint or the size of the building, and it could not change the cost. I was at that meeting, one meeting, and we were told you can talk about the interior design, you can move bathrooms, you can change seating arrangements, all that, but you cannot change the footprint and you cannot change the cost, the $16 million price tag. Those are the two committees that have been formed in this commission. And other than that, there has been no public forums that have evaluated the wonderful ideas that some of your community members have expressed here this evening. And that's part of what we're asking that you do.
All you gotta do is ask them. If you go and ask them, I
think Robert left out one point is they kicked them off that committee.
Yeah, they did pick them off after the first one. Wendy Linden, I'm just gonna share, I sat on the last committee, the first committee that was formed, that was appointed by Jessica Steele with the names. There were no minutes for that committee. When asked how that went, how things evolved, there were no minutes. The second committee that was formed, we were under those guidelines. You can't change the footprint, you can't change the amount, you're limited to this. We had a list of things that these are must-haves that were determined by the employees of the community center. And we tried to work, it was a great group, honestly. It did start with 17, it dwindled down to 14. Robert was not allowed to continue on the committee. But we spent a lot of time, we spent a lot of hours working on this, thinking, if this community center is gonna happen, we are going to try to make it the best it can be in the very strict parameters that we were given. And we came up with a plan, and it was presented to the commission that this overall, I think 12 out of 14 voted for the blueprint that we chose. And it was displayed that way by Haley. This was overwhelmingly the choice of the committee. And this commission chose to go with the other blueprint. And when I did ask, why would you do that? Why would you put this committee together to spend their time and then to not even take their resignation, their recommendation? I was told by Commissioner Sandberg, well, we were told, we asked around and there were people on this committee that just didn't feel comfortable expressing how they truly felt about which plan to choose. And I had several committee members come up to me and say, did Jessica reach out to you? Because she didn't reach out to me. Did she reach out to you? Because she didn't reach out to me. And I finally said to Commissioner Sandberg, I have to know what happened because I've talked to probably 10 out of the 14 on that committee, and they all say you didn't talk to them. The point is, what I'm trying to get to is that we continue to say we formed committees, that's our public input, we held a community forum, we held a meeting. If you were at that meeting, if anyone was at that meeting, it was overwhelmingly a negative response to, at that time, I think it was like a $17 million expansion project. It was overwhelmingly a negative response. And the minutes to that listed who were there, that there was discussion, and then that was the end of it. There wasn't any true narrative about what was discussed at that meeting. And so it's a little frustrating for me when we say, we put these committees together, that's our scapegoat for public input, but you didn't take the public input. You did what you wanted. And this plan, this expansion that they're going with, doesn't expand the great room. It doesn't make a community gathering space larger, which is what one of the complaints was, right? During the Halloween party, it's packed. During the Fireman Carnival, it's packed. During Freedom Fest, it's packed. There's not enough room. They didn't want to expand that. It was strictly about a basketball court. And I'm not opposed to basketball. My boys play basketball. I support basketball. But there has to be more. Tell me another community with a population of 2,000 people that has 5 basketball courts, including our outdoor basketball courts. Like they said before, you can't even move to town if you want to. There's not a home for sale. There's not a lot to buy. And this is what we want to spend our money on. And we keep saying, it's not going to cost you anything. It's not going to cost you anything. It might not cost anything to build it if that's what we want to use the oil and gas impact monies to go for. But currently it costs $300,000 a year to operate the building as is. If you double, almost triple the size of it, how much will it cost to operate that? And where do those funds go? Oil and gas impact monies will not be forever.
I got a question. That's second committee you're talking about where you had 14 people, 12 people, one that had the structure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's just say.
And I'll just add now, after the city commission chose not to go with that expansion plan, I think Veronica can concur. Everyone stopped going, other than the city employees and myself. They just stopped going. what was the point? You're not gonna listen to us.
Well, there is a point, if you volunteer your time, and then.
Well. My name is Pete Wanzer. Just to kind of, the committee that you guys had, if I remember correctly, because I do ask questions and stuff. Wasn't there 2 options that was given to the board?
There were, it might have been 3. I appreciate you asking that.
There were
but
2.
It was 2 options.
2 options. that-
Right, so I mean, it wasn't like, this is what we want. You get, this is what we like both these, correct? I mean, they were given 2
No,
options.
it was like, here are 2 that are options for you to look at.
Right,
Overwhelmingly, the committee chooses this one.
but why were they given 2?
We didn't want to do that. The committee didn't want to do that. Haley chose to do that, and you can ask her about it. It was her choice to give. She said, well, I think we should give the commission options, so I'm just gonna show them both of them.
So the
And
commission was
she was
given
all good with
options
that.
of 2 different plans and they picked one. Who obviously not everybody agreed with, but I did ask questions and I looked at 2 plans. I preferred the one, the larger, to me, it looked like you got more money. Or more bang for the buck, I should say. Not just this, I don't like calling it a gymnasium because there's so much more involved with the community center than just a gymnasium. It holds everything. But anyway, I just wanted to clarify that there was 2 options and they picked one, so.
Their votes. That's just. I'll figure it out, find out. That's the start. If you're in transparency, that's what we're pushing. It seems like the water's just been more. When we got here, I got a pretty good idea how we got here. So when you hear that people volunteer their time to be on a committee, 14 people, 12 of them voted one way, it was struck down. Because it was struck down. 12 out of 14 voted for option A, which chose to be option B. It's almost as ridiculous as not getting to vote at all. It's probably worse, to be honest. So I think, I'm reading through this, there's a hope that we can pause so that a vote can be held. And I heard that it's not community center or just community center. It's more money, the financial flexibility if we're fully able to absorb these O&M costs that we haven't really explored yet, and definitely haven't broadcast them. But at the same time, then there's potential projects on the second half of this page, which to me means we're not talking about it as affordable anymore. Because if the community center 16 million isn't affordable, why would all these other options?
But a lot of these options we're doing, we broken North Main Street repaired. We are putting a water system in the golf course already. We are building a walking path around the Tioga Dam. Highway 40 is kind of iffy. We can't necessarily beautify that because that is not in the city limits and there's requirements that we don't meet. Modernizing Main Street businesses. I'm just going through here, looking at some of this. We are working on a downtown parking lot that just hasn't quite happened yet. We don't own the lots on Main Street, so we're not gonna put any pavilions there. We did try to get a quiet zone. It was shot down by the last commission. Community center expansion with public input. Yeah, that was a big number with the farmers, just so you know. Community center expansion with public input, raised or external walking paths. There is going to be a walking path in the community center. So indoor shooting range, I would be all for that, but, your ideas to be developed, like community garden, oil committee celebration, stuff like that, yeah. But I mean, a majority of these things we're already doing.
So the argument then was never really about money. It was community center, yes or no. The main portion was just a bolt on. Part of the argument. So what's the end game? Like, what is the end game? We probably get more data, try to put an O&M budget together in the next 2 weeks. The contract says that it's still.
Well, I think you're talking bigger than that because, and I would refer you to Mr. Forsberg, who I've worked closely with, who is highly knowledgeable about situations such as this. I do not want to give a legal treatise on a matter that has threatened litigation and litigation that has been once dismissed. I'm not aware of any active litigation at this moment on the topic, but I am reluctant to weigh in. But what I would tell you is this, as your lawyer, I have no opinion about the smartness or not smartness of the community center, or if it's the best plan or the worst plan, or there's 26 plans that are better, or if the O&M should be 10% higher, or 10% lower, or 100% gone. What I know is that when you leap before you look into matters involving multi-million-dollar contracts and fully executed bonds, there is gigantic liability, and some of those issues have been fleshed. North Dakota has a contracts clause under its state constitution, which everybody swore out to protect. And that contracts clause essentially says that the government doesn't get to walk away from contracts that it enters into once those contracts become binding, at least not without penalty. That's the best summary I can give. So my legal advice tonight on this point is that you guys, again, should always fully and fairly consider and vet every issue that comes before you. But one of the things that you're obligated to do, because it's public dollars and public liability, is vet the liability in any given position that you may take. And so shooting from the hip tonight has already been done once, and it's come at its own cost. I would urge you not to shoot from the hip twice. It's a bad idea.
Mr. President, that's the best legal advice your attorney can give you. And had she been the kind of attorney that was really interested in what was in the best interest of the Tioga City Commission and the city of Tioga, I would suggest to you that she would have said, wait with signing the contract until the new city commission that's going to be in place in less than 2 weeks has an opportunity to address this. So if there's fault to be had, I can think of more than one person involved in that fault.
Well, I disagree that a contract was signed 2 weeks. I mean, these things have been ongoing. The decision of this commission.
Contract was signed the 28th of May, 2024.
The commission decided and vetted the bonds nearly a year ago.
That's right.
And the bonds speak to what is obligatory in that project. What I'll tell you is this, I'm not willing to argue with Mr. Scarpel because Mr. Scarpel, with all due respect, I have no confidence that you're aware of the records like I am. All due respect given, you can look at them, we can agree to disagree. Please consult with legal counsel before you do anything further. That is all I'm willing to say, especially with threatened litigation, which has already once trucked us to the courts and already once been dismissed.
Mr. President, I guess I was here when Commissioner Christensen and Commissioner Sandberg were sitting here several months ago. And we were trying to get the commission off the problem that we're still on right now. We're trying to offer some way to resolve the public's interest in having more input on this project. What I'd like to suggest is, I think the city's attorney is giving you good counsel. Don't leap a second time I'm not sure what the first leap was, maybe getting into this contract in the first place, I'm not sure. But here's what I would recommend. I talked to FCI, the contractor, told me last week that they were coordinating everything that was going on down at the community center with Haley, the community center manager. I said that we were coordinating, we knew about the fact that you've got the all-school reunion coming this week, and we are gonna have hundreds of people here. I just drove by there this evening, I was frankly a little shocked at the size of the dirt pile there, and very disappointed that we've done that. I'm completely perplexed as to why we needed to begin that dirt work last week, 3 weeks before the contract calls for a start date. Completely bewildered as to why we did that. I've seen a publication from the community center saying it was essential that we needed to access the sewer. I'm not clear as to why that was necessary 3 weeks before the contract calls for a start. Here's my suggestion. Bring that activity this week to a halt. Get the contractor to clean it up, sew it up, button it up as best they can for what they've done thus far, and just sit tight until the 15th. That'll give you a couple of weeks at least to do some more research. We can reconvene in a couple of weeks. We'll be smarter, you'll be smarter. We'll have some time to look at contracts, maybe talk to other lawyers. No harm, no foul, but I would at least bring what's going on down there to a close this week and not do anything else until the 15th. We're gonna be back here in 2 weeks anyway. That'd be my suggestion.
I just got one more thing to say. We wouldn't all be sitting here talking about this community center if Jessica Steele, she made a motion to put it up for a vote, you know, for the citizens of town, and we all applauded her for it. 9 days later, they have a special meeting. And she rescinds that motion. That's why we're still sitting here today arguing about it, because the voice of the people were not heard. That's all I got to say.
Hi, Randy Ron. Got a question with that vote that Jessica, that you said that you wanted to take. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was actually probably illegal to do since it was already that. So if we're gonna abide by the law, that couldn't have been done. So I don't know what else you guys are expecting them to do, because she is legally obligated for not to have. So I don't know which way you wanna go with it. Now, on top of that, I was actually on both of the committees. So we tried to put in as much effort and time, just like Wendy said, we spent a lot of time on that. Yes, we had 2 plans. In my opinion, they were both great. No matter what you guys picked, in my opinion, it would have been great. Yes, there's been a lot of committee members that lean one way. But yet again, both of those plans occupied everything that we wanted. Yes, is there one big room on the one that you guys selected? No, but there is another big room that's right connected to it, which actually goes right into the other gymnasium. So whether you want to call it gymnasium, whatever you want to call it. So actually it is a big room. You can have big events there. This, you can do everything that you're thinking. There's multiple areas there that you can do many things for the community if the community is willing to do it. But you have to be willing to do it. You can't go in and be negative about things. I tell my kids to get over it and think of the positive. Well, maybe we should start to do that. Think of the positive of things. This could be a very big thing for our community if we let it. So I think we just let it.
I would like to know. I've been on lots of boards over the years, rec council, township, church board. I think we need to know what the city, how much money does the city got? Every time, every board I've been on, we get a handout when we sit down at the meeting and they tell us how much we got. We spend a lot of money in this town. I've been coming to these meetings and they spend a lot of money, and I've looked at the budgets and whatnot, and I do not understand the budgets. I think we should have a layman's so we can understand what's coming. What do we got coming? Maybe we're fun rich, maybe we're not.
If we're Plum Rich, why do we need a $10 million loan?
I don't know.
Yeah, right then, the loan. It's not about this.
How much does the city owe?
I will add to that because I have the same question. If you go sit in with Abby, she will show you the finances. She has always been open to that. If you have questions, go to her and ask. She will show you it all. It's open record. Go to the city. Well, in the defense of both of you, it is an open record and it's made available through a budget analysis a couple of meetings a year. In your defense, sir, it's hard to read a government budget. I mean, I don't disagree. So I think those are both fair, but I think if you're interested, that's good. And you should go ask questions because you're a citizen. And if you go, Abby will answer them, or a commission member will meet with you. Got a new finance commissioner, he'll be spooled up soon. There's always somebody to help you out. Sure, no, that's fair, great. No complicated.
Community get a handout for every meeting, like the rest of the board.
Richard Schmidt. I've lived in this community for 82 years. And I've seen it grow and I've seen some tough times. We talk all of spending all this money. Does anybody know the total indebtedness of the city of Tioga? No. We're talking of spending $16 million. And nobody knows how much money we already owe. And she said it costs about $600,000 to operate that building right now. The total valuation collectible in taxes for the city of Tioga is less than $600. So you people are operating on money that is not secure. It could go away anytime. But I can't believe you people sitting on the throne there do not know the indebtedness of the city of Tioga. I can remember in 1952, Main Street was nothing but gravel. They used Madison crude oil for dust settling, and I was 12 years old. And I've seen Tioga grow. It had one light bulb on Main Street. And look at what we have now. You couldn't operate the whole system you got on $600,000. And another thing, we have two big events coming up in this month. Mr. Scarfo mentioned the all-school reunion. And the 18th of July, we have what they call the Bakken Rocks Cook Fest. And here is our opportunity to, the oil field has made Tioga. Here is our opportunity to do them a favor and show them what they did for Tioga. And there's going to be, I know personally, there's going to be presidents of some of these oil companies that are going to be in Tioga. And some of them are along 67th Street. You have Continental Oil, the biggest operator in the oil field. He drives on a doggone road that when it rains, you can't even walk on it. So, but we're gonna get it paved, yeah, but they've been telling us that for 3 years. So but I think now is their opportunity to show the oil field with this Bakken Rocks Cook Fest that's going on. Because I mentioned that at the last meeting and you people were dumbfounded, the old board that was up, never heard of it. Well, that's how much communication the city of Tioga has with the oil business. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else wanna come up and?
Give my 2 cents. I'm new to this whole thing. My name is David Peterson from the city of Tioga. I'm new to this whole thing and I'd just like to know where this committee stands as far as the 14 people that have been appointed to build or architect or whatever. I'd like to get involved in it somehow, however that's possible. If there's opening for something like that, I would love to get involved in it. Me personally, I have 3 kids, 3 young boys, and we're active, very, very active in the community doing stuff anytime that there's anything available. And unfortunately, there's too many times where the community center is closed down for birthday parties or whatever it may be. It's always booked out for something. Most times, we're probably gone maybe 2 to 3 times a week, leaving our community, going to a different community, and probably putting money in their pocketbooks because there is the ARC. I've been in just about every gymnasium from the Crosby line all the way down to the Dickinson line. And there is a lot of stuff you can do for $16 million. There is a ton of activity that can happen inside the community center. The Tioga Medical Center just put something together for a healthier Tioga. You implement that inside of your community center and get some of the people that need rehabilitation to go inside your community center. A coffee shop, there's a lot of people out working. Days and nights, have an extension of your coffee shop inside of your community center. Give moms and dads something to do while they're in the looking after their kids. The Chevron takeover, who knows if that's gonna happen? Nobody knows, but if there is Chevron takeover and there is hundreds of people moving to Tioga, to Mr. Compton's point, where are they gonna live? Why would they choose Tioga? We have to give Tioga, why drive past Tioga? We have to stop them at the 3-mile corner, bring them into town, instead of continuing on to Watford City, continuing on to Williston, continuing on to Stanley. We have to give people that have young kids something to do in this town if you want your town to continue to grow. That's it. Thank you.
Not entirely sure.
Maybe you should give it some thought. And if the commission determines that further or other action is necessary, you certainly have every right to come to any meeting you wish and act in accordance with your obligations and judgments. But it's okay to, think about things before you act. It's usually advisable, actually.
So just to get back,
I can't believe it.
go ahead.
Okay. So I have heard for the last year and a half that the city of Tioga has no voice. No voice. In regards to all these votes that everybody wants, but what I'm so confused about is, did we not just have an election to get everybody up here? You guys are the people's votes or voice. Am I wrong? I don't think I am. That's what you guys are appointed for, to speak for the public and for your constituents of the city of Tioga. So I do not understand everybody saying that you guys don't hear the people. Well, obviously there's 1, 2, 3 brand new commissioners. Do what the people told you to vote, or how to vote, or how you feel to vote. That's all I gotta say, because you guys are the community's voice. They voted you in. Be that as it may. As many times as, however many people gotta stand up here and say that they don't have a voice, well, you're all voted in by the people. That's all.
So to get back to the original, ask of theirs, I guess. There was an ask to open it. And I guess that's something that we need to discuss rather than whether it was right or wrong. So maybe just, we should focus on that.
Well, I'm not prepared. Here's what I'm willing to tell you, and I'm not prepared to render a legal conclusion, which may be costly or not, I don't know, without reviewing with precision the contracts and all of them that bind you this evening. I've been around long enough to know that I don't shoot from the hip, because every time I have, it's ended poorly. And this is a shoot from the hip. Bob might be right. Maybe if you call off construction for 2 weeks, it's no big deal. Maybe it costs you $50,000. I have no idea, and so I'm not willing to tell you that until I have some idea of what that looks like. That would be very irresponsible of me. So if you make a judgment, you make it without legal guidance, not because I'm trying to withhold it, but because I honestly don't know, and I don't want to misrepresent anything to you.
I just have a quick question. When is the expected completion date of whatever's going on? I have no idea.
Substantial completions like August of 2025.
Okay, that's all.
Sorry, that's the best answer I can give you. You look disappointed, Mr. Iverson, but
there's just so much going on here. It's quite a decision.
you right
Hot
you
seat
are.
right away. You know, because clearly there's been quite a few on both sides that have stood up. This is a huge deal. This is a really big deal. And we should do our homework and figure out how to go about this, because we need to try to bring everybody together and come up with something that everybody, that like, you know, you're never gonna please everybody, but as best as possible. So. You are perhaps right about not making a decision on that, because we don't know if it does cost or not. So maybe it would be best to revisit this. Maybe possibly at a next meeting, and we can find that out for everybody and find out everything we need to know. We've been up here for 2 hours. Other than that, we don't really know where we stand on any of this, so.
Well, and that's the thing. So if there's consequences to delaying the start date of the project, we're not doing work up into the start date of the project. It's really a neutral deal. I mean, let's do our homework. Give us a chance to dig into the content. You know, everything we need to, I mean, if we're spending $16 million roughly, we should hit that contract through precision.
And honestly,
We
I
should
think
know.
it's fair to both parties and take the time to get more knowledge before we make a decision.
We have to get more knowledge. So here's what I see. This is just perception from before. Once there was people that wanted the community center, once there was people, or another half, there was people that did not want the community center. Now there's an in-between. It's, I don't want it, we do want it, and then the middle is just like, just do something. We've been beating this to death for years now. So, to both these gentlemen's points. And that very, very educated decision.
If I might, Mr. President, the $16 million is really not the issue. The issue is, what are we getting for the $16 million? Maybe it's not enough. Maybe we can do better. We got the money. Obviously, we have the money. They borrowed 10 million. They put 10 million in the bank in cash in the bank that they borrowed from. That's 20 million. They've gotten over $9 million already this year in additional revenue and oil and gas money. They got the money. But let's have a plan that everybody likes, not just the people that want a big gym. That's the real issue, is the gymnasium, and whether we need to be building 2 gymnasiums simultaneously in town. That's the bizarre part of this whole thing. Maybe there's a better solution than what's being proposed that would give the kids a much better opportunity to have some fun, and the adults to have an opportunity to be able to get some good healthy exercise of whatever variation they like, pickleball or walking or whatever. But I don't believe the plan that's there has had any public input of any real substance. And I think this project of that magnitude deserves better public input than what's been granted.
So it seems like this whole, that we're just building a gym thing keeps coming up, and it's not just a gym. This is the whole big area, that whole big gym area, if you wanna call it, does have an actual true basketball court on it, which you can play basketball, volleyball, pickleball, you can do many things on there. It has a big walking track all the way around, and on one side of it, there's actually turf where the kids can play football, soccer, you name it, they can do it. This is not about building a gym. This is about building a full space for kids to do anything and everything they want to do. It's possible in there. The high school gym is not being built for the community, hence it being a high school gym. We have so many teams right now that these kids practice till late at night. And early in the morning, at 6 o'clock in the morning, they have to go at some time. That's a bit ridiculous. Actually having this gym space is for the high schoolers, so we can actually have our teams there and the kids can go home and do homework or God forbid, get some sleep. Let them do that. That is gonna be their space. A community center is for the community. It's not just a gym, it's not just for basketball. This is for doing many things. I don't know why we're stuck in basketball, but it's kind of silly in my opinion, because yes, they actually put in a wood gym floor. Because I'm sorry, if you're gonna spend $16 million, you might as well put in a good floor. But that's not just for basketball. That's for anything and everything that you can do on the gym floor. So, I don't know why we're stuck on basketball, but it's for the community, for everything.
So I think why we're getting hung up on gym, at least from the people that I've spoken with, is, and I don't know if this is true, because I haven't looked into it, even remotely, but, according to people that I've talked to, the school is very adamant that they will have nothing to do with the community center. So if the point for the community center is for practices and kids to do sports, are we gonna actually even be able to do that, I guess?
No, the high school gym is for practices. The community center will be for the community, not actually for teams going down and practicing. Now, it's not that they will never get used for that, or especially, I would say, the ones that might possibly use it more, I'm gonna say is probably elementary, because there's some big classes coming up, so they might need an extra gym back.
But that's where I see the gym coming up, is from everybody that I've talked to, and that there's gonna, and mind you, I haven't looked at the plan. But stadium seating, and that's why everybody feels like this is just a grab to get a gym. And that's why the gym keeps getting brought up, from my understanding.
There is not stadium seating. I think we went down to, when you were at 300? I think it was 500. There you go, stick with 500? There's like 500 seats there in the middle of the floor. Just help separate.
Okay, yeah, and like I said, I don't know, I'm just, that's why the gym thing keeps
Yeah,
getting brought up, I do believe is what people's, problem is with it, so.
Yeah.
And the gym too, by far, is the largest portion of the expansion, right? Just square footage wise, like it's the biggest piece of the expansion.
Yep, correct. So it's most useful.
And the only thing that I would say about the high school gym, you know, as far as having, like, some people are saying 5 gyms, but high school gyms, grade school gyms, they're not open in the summer. They're not open in the evenings. They're closed to the public. You wanna take your kid out to play basketball or do whatever activity with them, you can't just go to the high school and do it. You don't have a key, you're not a coach. That's all closed. It's all for the community center. That's when you're bringing your kids there. Summers, evenings, extra time that you're not at the high school.
All winter long.
I just want to add that along with the gym idea, we also have dance in our town now, which we didn't have before. And we have asked the schools many times to do recitals, practice, all those types of things. And we're not considered part of the school. We're not a school sport. So we're not allowed to use them. So that would also be something for our kids in dance at the community center. As I'm taking it, that we would also get to use that, whereas we can't use the high school gym. Correct? Is that right? Right? Okay, that's all.
Which isn't a bad thing.
No, but Chris asked.
Try to get more kids.
Guys,
One
we're
more
gonna-
thing I gotta bring up.
Yeah, I'm gonna limit this last one.
Okay, last one.
We've got to move on.
One thing we're all forgetting about is the $500,000 that we're spending on that softball diamond above it. So Jim or whatever it is building it at the community center the place that we really need to build it? Can we build it some other place? Whatever something comes up. I'm just saying, spending $500,000 for a softball diamond, I don't know about you guys, but $500,000 is a lot of money.
Why could you do it for baseball though?
Yeah.
Why could the Legion do it then? There's no seven.
Yeah, well,
So why could the boys get it, but the girls can't?
the Legion people.
Yeah, but have you ever played on that field?
No, I haven't.
It's garbage.
Why don't
They
they
deserve
collect
it.
donations for the community
Well,
center?
why don't
Maybe
you,
people will donate.
why don't you write a donation for moving the softball diamond?
Because I'm the coach.
It should come out of the-
$1,000 a year for that.
Maybe the kids that use it, maybe their parents should pay for it. I just have
Taxes, you pay for it.
Brad.
No, last one.
I
told Bob he was the last one.
We can't move the field, because with the little kids playing, they need both fields when they play like T-ball and stuff.
That's,
There's 15 teams in 6 counties.
That's huge.
Huge.
There's a lot of money when we have those tournaments.
If you guys would actually get out of the coffee shop and maybe check some stuff out. Instead of just sitting here talking smack.
we are losing control quickly, so. For any sort of function, how. If that gets them, how do we want it to?
You just move to the next point on the agenda. That's really the way to go. You're on the consent agenda, so I'm sorry, I forgot it's your first night, you guys already broke it in, look at you, you've had a lot of time. Settle right in, so you wanna just have. Guys, can you help our new president out? It's hard for him to hear the lawyer when everybody's talking after they would want to do it. If not, ask for approval.
Is there anything that needs to be removed from the consent agenda?
May I, just say a word?
Oh, sorry, I'm going.
So, a while ago, Mike decided to move to Bismarck, and she said if I wanted to live with her, I'd have to go along too. So I decided to do that, and so I relocated. And because of that, this will be my last meeting. And I'm gonna tender my resignation. And I just want to say it's been great. It's bittersweet for me to leave Tioga. It's been here 19 years. It's been a great community. And I've liked it a lot. It's tough to go, but that's what I gotta do, I guess, so. It's been an honor to be on this mission. I know we don't always agree, but I'm proud of the things that have gotten done, and I'm glad to have been a part of it, so I want to thank all the citizens for their support.
Well, they asked what would happen if we didn't accept your resignation and forced you to stay. I figured you'd probably like your wife better than us, so I told them they had to accept it if you offered it. So you have to entertain a motion to accept Tim's resignation, although we badly don't want you to go.
I do, and we'll get there, but I never got it. And I know that this term that you served was probably one of the more challenging that maybe any commissioner has ever endured. And it's really remarkable, the amount of employees that many of them done, so especially when things are not controlled. Again, I never got to work with you, but I can thank you because trust me, I've been paying attention and watching how you handle yourself. There's always opportunities to learn.
Yeah, appreciate that, and I was looking forward to working with this new board, and I thought maybe I could stay on since I've lived here so long, but I guess that's not the case. I wish you guys the best, and I think you'll do a good job.
We'll miss you, Tim,
We will.
especially on all that street and water knowledge. That's gonna be rough.
So I guess we will motion to either accept or that Dickinson's resignation.
Because I can see him out, I'll make a motion to approve his resignation.
I'll second.
Okay, with the motion and the second to accept Dickinson's resignation.
Yes.
There are no other questions, comments, or concerns. We'll move to vote.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Hey, on to this consent approval. There's gotta help me out.
Just ask if anybody would like to remove anything from the consent agenda.
Anybody like to remove anything from the consent agenda?
We'll just state what's in the consent approval, so the audience.
So, yeah, consent approval is payroll for 6/21/2024. All we have.
And with that, I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Hey, with the motion in the second to approve the consent agenda. Questions, comments, and concerns, we'll move to a vote.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Hey, that is it for the agenda. To adjourn.
Also move.
Okay, motion and a second to adjourn. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns?
Yes.
We'll vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Here
Yes.
we are.
Yes.
We're adjourned.